Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell, and I'm co-founder of Osmompreneur, the Women's Business School, and Women Changing the World Press. Today, we have a very special guest presenting for our Osmompreneur Online Festival. But before I introduce her, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I work on, the Mamu people of North Queensland. And I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners throughout Australia, past, present, and emerging. It's now my great pleasure to welcome our guest presenter today, Heidi Conway of ChangemakerTeens. Hi, Heidi, how are you?
Hi, Peace. Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good, really good. Very excited to hear your presentation this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. It'll be a bit different, I think. Yeah.
That's good. We love that. So, Heidi, I'll let you go through your presentation, and then at the end, we'll have some question time if time permits. How about that?
It'll be great. Yeah, my intention is to go about 45 minutes, and if there's questions there, that'll be great. All right.
Perfect. All right. I'll hand it over to you. Take it away, Heidi.
Thank you. Oh, very excited to be here and part of this amazing book, and definitely a lot of reflection that we all had, I think all the authors, to contribute to the book. And what it's done is gave me an opportunity to really share what we do. And this festival is now an opportunity to help you go through this process as well. So my intention by the end, my chapter is actually about from contention in your life, or from contention on the planet to connection. So as a home educator, that's really where I realized where there was a whole different opportunity that I didn't know I had with regard to using my coaching skills. So I mentioned before that my presentation will be a bit different. It's BU, from contention to connection. And when I used to train life coaches, I trained to be a life coach myself in 2001, and then became a leader in the coaching community and trained others to become life coaches, and then supported some of the life coaches to become other trainers as well. And when we went through the units, there were some that liked the PowerPoint. Back in those days, it was the overhead projector sheets. Then others used the flip chart. So I was a flip chart girl, and just speaking and allowing the students and the learners that were becoming coaches to write their own notes. So if you do have pen and paper when you're listening to this, that will be fantastic. So I've got lots of notes here in front of me, and we'll go through the process. So there is no PowerPoint or anything like that. So it'll take a little while to get into the flow, especially without the audience here and you listening at home. So why contention to connection? Well, my chapter goes through a lot of contention in my life over the years, and divorce, struggle, health, mainly the divorces, and looking at, well, if we're told in the 80s and 90s, I don't know if any of you remember that we were told that we can have it all. You can have it all, and there was, mums going more into the corporate world and still being a great mum, and it was all about balance. You can have it all. And yet there was struggle. So was it easy that you can have it all, or was life about struggle? What was it? So if it was easy, how come we had struggle in our life? And in my book, I talk about, well, in the words of Jennifer Lopez, if you want your children to be great, we have to be great too. So it gives us an opportunity to look at that struggle. I saw even more when I was on the way to those corporate jobs and in the train, looking around at people's faces, sad mothers putting on makeup after they've just dropped their children at daycare at 6 a.m. in the morning, still with wet hair, and then on the way home, fathers and mothers falling asleep on the train. Was this what life was all about? I didn't see any or many vibrant, happy people. So that's the contention. And actually, what's the definition of contention? You might want to write down now. We'll run it like a workshop. It is a workshop. What is contention to you? Love to hear that later as well. And if you can write down the bottom underneath the recording as well. What is contention? What is this word? Be you, contention to connection. What's this contention? So we don't know what it is. We don't even know how to start addressing it. So I think we know it feels, how does it feel? Yuck? Awkward? Frustrating? Does it make you angry because you're in arguments with people? Are there disputes, rivalry, deception, disagreements with people? Are your kids disengaged? Is that the contention that you're seeing around you at the moment? Are they disengaged from their learning? Are there mental health issues? Is there bankruptcy, struggle, other health concerns? Basically not in flow. Is contention bad then? If it doesn't feel good? If it's all about dispute and deception and being disengaged and not just, sum it up, stressed, mental health issues, contention. So I don't see that it has to be that way. Remember, we were told in the 80s and 90s and, 60s, love, peace, people who follow a faith, that we have it, we have the abundance, we have the support of God or your religion, whatever that is to you. We've got it all. So why do we have this contention in life, and what is it? So that became my why, and especially when then I saw contention in my own family and brought my boys home from school. The contention there is that I was told that one wasn't writing and the other one wasn't focusing. I just see that Linda's joined the call, and a big part of what we do with Changemaker Teens was born with the connection and resulted in the connection between her and I. She's on the other side of the world in New York. So without contention with her daughter, we wouldn't have connected, let alone the connection that's happened with her daughter. And let me explain. And I'll explain in a way using the coaching model. My ikigai, or my purpose and passion in life, is absolutely being a coach. A coach helping you close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Makes sense, closing the gap between contention and connection. Feeling yuck to feeling great, vibrant, joy, ease. So the contention in Linda's family, one of 4 of her children had a challenge when she was, I believe, about 15, 16, and she was having a lot of concerns with the group she was with at school and getting in the wrong crowd, and it was really affecting her mental health. We'll link a podcast, if that's possible, piece where Linda really explains the whole story on how Changemaker Teens got started. But for the purpose, thanks, piece, that'll be great if we can do that. So for the purpose of this, basically, she ended up on suicide watch in hospital. I don't know if any parents can relate here, or even on the scale of where your child just is not coping, your teenagers aren't coping. So Linda had, a few years before that, educated herself on parent coaching as well, but nothing prepared her for this. Except one day, she actually overheard her daughter, Andrea, her name's public. We've got her permission to use the story. Linda actually overheard her daughter say to a friend, somebody should do something about those turtles in Costa Rica. Somebody should save those turtles. That's how ChangemakerTeens got the turtles as the turtle as part of our logo. Linda, of course, is thinking as she's going past in the hallway, oh, she can't even save herself, let alone the turtles. But she was silent and held the space for her daughter and learnt to do that very well, because love will do that. The natural coach, love is what's required too. So she listened to her daughter. She asked clever questions, and how would you do that? And gradually, where there had been contention and not much communication between mother and daughter, opened up to solving and working towards a problem in the world where the turtles needed saving in Costa Rica. Now, that's still on the cards for a project, but on the way, they definitely became closer, and it opened up to many other things that Andrea knew that she could do. And now she's very, very much on the path to be a successful chef, a gourmet chef, and enjoying that process and knowing that she has the ability to learn. And without that contention, she wouldn't be the young woman she is today. So more of that story on ChangemakerTeens podcasts, and we're happy to have questions around that as well. But basically, that's part of our why, because Linda and Andrea got together then and said, all right, there are other teenagers like this. There are other families going through things like this. And what I see as part of the pressure we have as well, I think our teenagers have, and we then grow up with this, and we experience it at different levels. I really describe anxiety as a foot in each camp. I don't know if you've actually heard it this way before, and I'm definitely not, undermining and or belittling what people think anxiety might be and how they're experiencing it. But what if anxiety was about having a foot in two camps? So you're split. There's contention. A foot in, we are being told that we can be all that we can be, like we were in the 80s and 90s. You can have it all. And yet there's a structure. There are rules. Do it this way. If you don't do it this way, you won't go to university. If you don't do it this way, you'll be at home till you're 30. So, work hard, do well, and, focus and concentrate and write those reports. And so there's this split. And remember, then we grow up, went through 2 divorces before finally, and I won't say it's not hard, but now we go through relationships with awareness, so it can still have ease and joy, even in challenging situations. There's a lot to be learned from the contrast of contention. So what if there was a foot in each camp? I'll finish that. Our parents now, and it happens in schools as well. And now we're bringing our children home for various reasons, some faith, some because they're not writing well, or they're being bullied, or health concerns in the school place, in the school area, whatever the reason is, there is an explosion of home education around the world now, whatever that reason. We are bringing our children home, and we see it I want to unschool. I want them to be all they can be. I want to yes, there's curriculum as well. What do we do? Again, foot in each camp. Well, let's line them up this way. Let them be themselves, be you. But if we don't go through consciously of that journey, whether your children are at school or home educated, or whether you're looking at this now as an adult, if there's a foot in each camp to really, really wanting to be you, and yet, and looks like that your parents or friends or, even the mentors and coaches and gurus out there are saying you can have it all, you can be all that you can be, and yet there's these rules going on. No, don't go too far. Some of those rules are actually in our minds and in our mindset and our bodies, and inner child things that have happened along the way are creating that duality within ourselves. So if we can fully have permission to be ourselves, just imagine how the world will change. We see those sparks, that inner change maker, that inner genius in our child, and yet then it goes again and they're stressed. So how do we help the child see that for themselves? How do we help those teenagers see it specifically? Our focus is tweens and teens with Linda and ChangemakerTeens Global. But you know what? I think I mentioned before with Jennifer Lopez saying, and I've mentioned it in the book, that for her, when she realized that she wanted her kids to be great, if our kids are going to be great, then we have to be too. So we go from Lopez to Gandhi, and I've got an affinity with Gandhi because he was born exactly 100 years before me. That's just a little aside. That's not part of the workshop. That's just that's just a little aside. That's a little bit of a Heidi being her. So be the change. So finally, when we were home educating and homeschooling, I realized that I became a natural coach. So what we aim to help you with is, instead of falling into flow and discovering what our children really are born to do and the change maker they were born to be. Everybody is a change maker. You are. The person beside you is. The person that you sit across the dinner table. We're all change makers. And I know a lot of the other authors follow that belief as well. We are all change makers. If we could just be ourselves, be you. And there's various scales of that as well. So that's really the why, to start listening, to notice, be aware of what's going on. Let's save you a whole heap of pain and struggle and contention by being aware of what's there now, and work out what would it take. How would you even know if you were really connected and being yourself anyway? And you might know moments of it, but how do we do that at will and maintain that? So the what, the who, we've spoken about. The struggle, you can. Connection. So the connection is now where we're going. That's about allowing, listening, holding the space, oneness. We're looking for flow, relationship, and it feels much better. So that's where we want to end. I'll be giving 4 steps using what we call the GROW model. When we coach, when I support mothers, when we support mothers and teens, it's not about, a chat. Yeah, you can go to your friends and they can hold space for you, or maybe they can come in with opinion. But if you were really, when you were really allowed to be you, you can say, I'm afraid, I'm stressed. And a friend won't say, oh, don't worry about that. You're fine. And you still can't get that stress and that fear heard. And, because it's all about being positive. No, don't even think about being afraid. You're okay. It's like, or they say, I'm not good enough. You don't come in and say, yes, you are. You're fine. What if we held the space for each other and not agreed with them? We're disagreeing. We're putting stuff in the space and disagreeing, but we can do that silently. by accepting what they say. This is a coaching tip, moms, or you can use, anyone can use it. Accept what they're saying, what your child is saying, your teen is saying, but don't agree with them. So when Andrea was saying, you know, I'm not coping, I'm, you know, and obviously structures were put in place, and she became, you know, ended up on the suicide watch, and all the care and attention was given. The mother just didn't say, Linda didn't say, come on, get over it. She actually knew she was more than what was presenting there, how she was being. She knew she was more, but didn't come in and say, come on, you're more than this, you can do it. She just held the space, made sure she was safe, and allowed things to bubble, and then recognized when it did. She didn't allow the space. There wouldn't have even been that opportunity with her friend and the idea to come up for Andrea to say, let's save the turtles in Costa Rica. So she had naturally to accept what she was saying, but not agree with her, because she knows that her child was more than that. Her teen was more than that. She was a change maker. She is a genius. She is, all parents think their kids are amazing, but then we forget. It looks like, I don't know, evidence shows that we must forget, because then we judge them. You know, we think we don't, but do we 100% accept everything that they're doing? What if we did? Accept, but you don't have to agree with their behavior. You can accept, but not agree. So by accepting, you're actually holding them as able that they can be and do and have whatever they want, and hold that space, and then come in with reflective questions. So how do we do that? We can use what we call a grow model. And I said there were 4 steps actually to go from contention to connection. And firstly, I write in the book, is recognizing that contention. We've spoken a lot about that. You've probably all, if you're listening to this, got some sort of contention in your mind, either past or current, that you're aware of. So recognize that contention. A great mentor of mine said, you know, Heidi, notice what you're noticing and listen to what you're listening to. Notice what you're noticing. Just think about that. I'll give you some space. Notice what you're noticing in your body, in your environment, in your relationships. Notice what you're noticing, and actually listen to what you're listening to. So listen to your self-talk. Does that make you feel good, or is it contentious? Does it make you feel yuck? You know, as I was preparing today, that little voice, oh, you don't have any PowerPoints. How will people connect with you? You don't have any pretty pictures. They'll be bored just looking at you or listening. Well, now you can wash the dishes and still listen to me and think, and then come back later and write some notes in your journal. You don't have to look at PowerPoints, but that's not me. You know, if I get PowerPoints for something, I usually have my son help me. He's the creative. He does a lot of our graphic work and things, you know. So that's pretty amazing. I can't see it, but I just saw his name come up on my phone. Notice what you're noticing. Listen to what you're listening to. So recognize that. Then increase awareness. My second point was increase in the book. In page 68, I am. I love it. So we'll the link is everywhere, and definitely on the Changemaker Teens website in the shop. You can order the book, but there's many places that you can buy it at the moment. So recognize contention, increase awareness. That's the second step. Increase awareness. The way I word it there is actually increase compassion. So now you've listened, you've noticed, you increase compassion. And let me read something. That was a nice segue, Heidi, talking about the book there, because this is the copy that I approved for it. And allow me to read this, please. This is under in the paragraph, increase compassion. It's the second paragraph down. So if you've got it, you can open up under increase compassion. Have you ever felt the prompt to speak up, to write, to do more with your life, to care more, to sing more, to dance more, to be more of who you knew or know yourself to be inside? You've had dreams, you've got dreams, you've had dreams, you've got dreams, visions. A prophecy of what was next for you may have been shared with you, or what you were born to do. I'm adding a bit of my own stuff in here. It does flow better when you read it. And despite this, you're not doing it. Despite knowing, despite being aware, despite noticing what you're noticing and listening to what you're listening to. So that was recognized. Now, you're not doing it. You're not doing, has God been knocking? If we haven't allowed ourselves to listen and receive the news and courage in a benevolent way, I love that word, and I'll share where that word came into my vocabulary when I was in my 20s. I'm 52 now. Well, you can work it out from Gandhi's birthday, but then the knocking gets louder. The knocking gets louder and louder. Have you noticed that? If you don't listen, if you stub your toe and you don't stop, you might end up with a disease. You might hurt your back, so you have to lay down. Worse, there may be cancer or some other sort of disease. Listen, notice the little things and lean in and ask what that's all about. So have you ever felt the prompt to speak up? Who's putting their hand up right now? You know, to speak up, to write, to do more with your life, to care more, to sing more, to dance more. That's the way the planet's going to change when we're more of who we are. I thought yesterday I had a little meditation and thought about letting go of more and more resistance, letting go of resistance of, you know, something happening. And how do we let go of resistance? It reminded me what the message was in this meditation. And it's wonderful if you can, please meditate at least 15 minutes a day. That's, again, a little aside. But in the meditation, it came up that the best way to release the resistance to change, but contention change, is to, some people say fight against it, but what about if you did things more that gave you joy? So for me, it's the singing or tap dancing. I love tap dancing, and I've put them away for a little while again. So out they come, out they come. So to do more tap dancing, you know, it goes on again, off again, on again, off again, but I keep putting them tidily away in the dance sparkly bag. But what if I left them out where I could see them? That's the best way. Bring joy to your life. Do what you're born to do. Tapping, no, I haven't been born to do that. I just love doing that. But you know, I'm born to share joy. We all are. Ease in the hard times, so-called hard times, because people say homeschool, home education is hard. We have to struggle. We have to be up all, you know, helping each child. You know, what if you looked at it? This is easy. Okay. It still may be technically hard because you've got, you know, things to do depending on what, you know, there's all different ways that you can home educate your child. And it's all about being you and listening to your child. But it doesn't have to be hard if you listen and notice. It can be done with, can you see that? Ease. Hashtag ease. All right, so recognize the contention, increase awareness, and dive in with compassion for yourself and for others. So Linda didn't judge her daughter and say, you know, she did have the thought, you can't even save yourself. How are you going to save the turtles? But then it was, notice what you're noticing, listen to what you're listening to. Hang on, what if she could? She didn't actually open her mouth and say that to Andrea. Okay. She gradually asked her questions because she held her as able and leaned in. So we might need different communication. Step 3 was different communication. Different communication, meaning you're no longer the victim, but you are able to respond to what's happening around you. You are able to respond. So we talk about, some of you might be aware, from going below the line to above the line. Above the line, so you listen, you're aware when you're below the line, when you're blaming, when you've got excuses, when you're judging, when you're whinging, when you're moaning, and we all get there. We all get there. We all play the victim, and sometimes my husband does it and I go, do you need a poor Michael? And we laugh about it, you know. So rather than being the victim, be the victor and above the line. And there are 3 ways to get above the line. So as well as the 4 ways to go from contention to connection, we've got time for the 3 ways to get from below the line to above the line. And this will help different communication. So this is diving deeper than what's in the book. There's always more. It was so hard to stick to the word limit, but there's got to be another book piece, Katie, Karen. Volume 2. So the 3 ways below the line to above the line. You can change or fix the situation. Now, people don't need fixing. Please remember that. People don't need fixing. A situation might need fixing, but people don't need fixing. So you can change or fix the situation. So bringing the children home and home educate. You can change the situation. So being told they weren't writing or focusing, well, let's change that. Let's see if we can allow them and help them focus. Or better still, that didn't need fixing. My son didn't need fixing because you weren't. And I think I tried that when he was at school, 8 years old. I put the focus remedy oil underneath his socks before he put the socks in. I'd say, now focus on your teacher, breathe, and make sure he had good protein breakfast, all of that. So I was trying to fix him rather than asking, what would you prefer to focus on, love? We found that out when we home educated because I watched and I noticed and I listened. So that's one way, below the line to above the line. Change or fix the situation. 2, accept. But not accept begrudgingly. Not, okay, this is the way it is. Got to do that. No, accept that where it's peace. Meditation helps here, but peace. A good way of showing that we can accept, most of the population can accept when we needed to wear seatbelts, any safety equipment. I actually have a science degree in pollution and health, and that led me to do a lot of safety training as well. Safety training, workshops, system management, auditing of workplaces, safety and environment, rehabilitation, all of that. And when I trained my safety officers, I actually trained safety officers in Queensland about the word accept. It's about I use the example with personal protective equipment, that this is the way we do our job. We don't do it, we don't do our grinding job and then put earmuffs on. We don't do the job. That's the way we do our job. It's part of doing the job. So when we're driving a car, it's part of driving the car to put our seatbelt on. We accept that. There's little begrudging, so we can adapt and put something soft here if we need that, if it's irritating, if you're sensitive, or if, get a different sort of headphones or earplugs, or we can adapt and change the thing, the item. But basically we're accepting. That's a good example of it, accepting. With home education, what we say in the accepting is, yes, it's all about freedom. A wonderful mentor of mine, and we've really used it a lot in our home education as well, is that your choices, your decisions create your freedom. Your choices, your decisions create your freedom. Absolutely. And And this is not about a foot in each camp. This is awareness. And some things aren't very impressive, but they're 100% useful, responsible, because we've accepted it. So one child wants to do design work. Well, you know, this is the one that wasn't focusing. He loves design, making things with his hands, 3D printing, animation. So not just sketching animations, but actually draw, you know, on the computer, making them move. So in order to do that, he needs to improve his English in order to what he wants to do. So not very exciting, not very impressive, but 100% useful to what he wants to do, because I always say to him, it's all well and good being that and having that genius and that being part of your change maker path and your individualized learning pathway of being the change maker you were born to be. And it needs to mean something. So yes, you can enjoy it for your sake, but it needs to mean something. It needs to come out, and I use the words, it needs to serve God's people and be, you know, be out there and help improve the planet. My goodness, we need lots of people out there improving the planet at the moment, don't we? Yeah. So in whatever way. So he's got an English tutor now, one of our very own Dr. Lance, as part of the Changemaker team coaching forum we've got. Dr. Lance is amazing with passion projects, literacy programs. He's got a team to help with maths. The kids that know they need to do that, not very impressive, but 100% useful. And he will not work with somebody unless it's fun. So it's absolutely, definitely nothing like school. Actually, I just remembered I've been a bit of a, you know, women speak differently to men, don't they? You know, going round. I remember that I promised you that I'd share what, how benevolent, the word benevolent came in. You know, I had many car accidents, little ones, and also rolled the car when I was in my early 20s. And I leaned in always. That was contention. There was stuff going on with, wasn't my driving. There was a tire blowing. That was the roll of the car. But rather than being the victim, I said, I leaned in. So I increased my awareness, was compassionate to myself, but also said, look, I don't mind learning lessons, but let's do this in a benevolent way. You know, somebody said that word to me. Can we learn our lessons in a much more benevolent way, please? You know, and so now we're learning it by just listening to the different contentions in life, the little things. And some are bigger, because especially sometimes they seem bigger when usually life is all about ease and you've got a good mindset and you're meditating and, you know, whatever you're doing for joy in your life. Sometimes when something happens, then it does get you, because it's like surreal. It's like, really, this is happening? All this work that I've done in the past, and now I've landed here. What's this all about? Opportunity. So the third way to get from below the line to above the line, change and fix, accept, leave is the third one. Just leave the situation, remove the situation. In safety, we would say either if you're going to complain and you don't want to wear the personal protective equipment and it's a part of the job, leave. But you know, it's also leave in, you know, we left the school environment. Instead of complaining and whinging and we can't change it for whatever reason, there might be a bully there, or there may be a rule there that you don't like, or there may be a policy there, or there might be just subjects that don't agree with what your child wants to learn. So you leave that environment. And this is when we need to be aware of our people around us as well, especially when it's stressful and there's mental health issues, and, you know, it doesn't make sense that we have a foot in each camp. We're told that we can be the, you know, school teacher or nurse or whatever we're born to be, or we think we are. And then suddenly that changes. You know, the pandemic opens up a whole lot of this contention, doesn't it? my story shows my own story, like my own issue with that. You know, I haven't worked out by now. I'm definitely one to come from a place of love, not fear. And so just briefly, I will, and I've put it into the podcast that we've done around the book too. There's been a special podcast about the book, and I go into the story in a lot more detail than I will have time for now. But basically, there was an environment that I was in very early in the scanning. You know, when we had to log on, I was going to say check in with our device. And I had been in this area, in this shop, and everything was fine. And I just left, and then I needed to come back to pick something up. And I was stopped at the door. Can you please check in? And I said, it's all right. I'm just going to pick something up. And she followed me to the counter. Then the main proprietor came out. 4 people on the other side of the counter. 2 gentlemen in the row waiting, attacking me like unheard. Heidi doesn't get attacked. Like there's no sort of disruption like this in my life. And I'm going like, what is this? My son is on the spectrum. And in that moment, I had very much a glimpse of when he's going through something that caught him by surprise, what he might experience, especially when he was younger. He's got coping mechanisms now, but especially when he was younger. And it was like, wow, this is what kids feel. And maybe when they're stressed and their anxiety. I was just being attacked. There was no clear communication at all, and it was out of control. And all I had in me is that to be in integrity, I actually, at the moment, how I've processed this change, that society needs this, I am not ready to check in. Because I asked, just like I ask about why are we educating our children in a school in where a revolution of education is required, that it's been done like that for the last 200 years, I question, why is this important for me to do this? And this is where we believe, just like Ivan Illich said, and again, we can put more references in a podcast, Linda, that's a great idea, for talking about the deschooling of society, to actually cope with moving away and processing rules and how that impacts a person. We need to de-school society. And I can't, why would I scan? Okay, so the reasons are, in case I get sick, we can let other people know. In case, yet I'm healthy, you know, I exercise, I've got vitamins, I meditate, like I'm healthy. And then what about if somebody else gets sick, then I can be notified. They're the wise, we're told. But yet if I'm healthy, my immune system's fine, again, I believe I actually have that belief. You know, your mindset's important. As you think, so shall you be. So if I don't think that I will actually be ill, then and you know, of course, I've got to look after my mindset, make sure I get enough sleep. And sometimes there's emotional issues going on in life that it does drain us and things happen. But if then they happen and I do get sick, I lean into it. But in this moment, I was not part of that framework, and that was not what was happening. So to me, it's about spreading love, not fear. So if I would have checked in, I would have been spreading fear on the planet where there's enough fear. And so I would be harming each and every one of those people in that shop, as well as on the planet, if I start spreading more fear. I'm that pedantic about my behavior, and not always, I'm not perfect. Obviously, I get below the line and the victim sometimes, but it's awareness. So in that moment, I was out of integrity, everyone telling me that I needed to do this, and the fear was building. So they were harming themselves and had no idea. Again, my belief, they may not believe that. And if people are checking in and they feel afraid if they don't, that they won't be notified if there's an issue, then they're spreading love by checking in. Why can't we just be you, be ourselves? So as part of that experience, I walked out very traumatized, as traumatized I think I've ever been. You know, something, I don't know, a lot of people go through a lot of worse things, but that was just being attacked about my values and my integrity. And all I wanted to do was spread love and be the change maker I was born to be me. So I could have cursed all of those people. said, how dare they? Don't they know? And I could have been quite righteous about it. And I'm sorry if I appear a bit righteous, even in sharing the story. That's not my intention. But what was sad, I went to sad first, because especially the two men in the line, I felt would have been fathers, and they're raising it. Have they got tweens? Have they got teens? Have they got little ones? So I leaned in. I went then a different communication. I didn't go to victim, and went on a scale. I listened, and I received the message. Do your coaching question you ask your clients sometimes on a scale of this and this. And I listened. I'm now leaning against the car in the cover. And I listened and got on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is you can be yourself. Society allows you to be you. And society allows everyone to be themselves, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is absolutely you're allowed to be who you were born to be. To 0, absolutely, you're not allowed to be yourself. We will judge you. We will curse you. We will condemn you. What do we, whether that's open or in people's minds going around there? I got 2. We are allowed to be ourselves, 2 out of 10. You may get another number. That was what came to me in that time, at that time. And I went, oh my goodness, Linda, we have work to do. So I made a new commitment, and that's step 4 of going from contention to connection. We've had recognize the contention, increase awareness, have a different communication, and then change the commitment or make a commitment. You know, we had decided, and we thought congruently, in alignment with our passion and our purpose in life. We'll be mucking around. I know that we've had the conversation. This is not a hobby. This is a business. And we have to do that. We had to speak with ourselves. We chose to speak to ourselves like that, because as a hobby, we're not going to reach the people around the world, Gunnar. My speech teacher would be cringy. We're not going to reach the people that we need to reach as a hobby. And we keep going though. It's not, we don't have to be paid for everything we do. And goodness knows we've given so much, as you all do listening here. We all give so much. It's not one of the other things, Josephine, one of the other speakers, and I think we all agree, we are so aligned and connected, all the authors. And she said, you know, it's not about receiving back, but that's the way, you know, again, my belief that God allows us to do what we're born to do, because so we're fed as well. So we're constantly fed and looked after. So that's where you can have it all, you can be all you can be, and you will be served. Have the mindset you are always looked after, no matter what. Sometimes it might get a bit tricky, but it can be done with joy and ease because we have awareness. So we made a new commitment, because you know what? You make a decision. Remember I said your decision, your decision, your idea, that creates your freedom. Your decision, your choice. That's the word I'm thinking of. Your choice, your decision creates your freedom. But that freedom, you don't create change unless the action's taken. So we can make a choice, we can make a decision that we're going to help mothers, particularly families, change the world and change the communication. So there's lots of home educators, and there's lots of support for curriculum out there. Loads, and lots of my dear friends are actually supporting a lot of new home educators with that curriculum and support and helping them get started. And they're all part of our network as well. So we can, you know, if we can't help you, we can definitely get you to and introduce you to the person that can help you. But where we help, where ChangemakerTeens Global help with support, with communication, when anything gets tricky, with helping allow the space, because we are so indoctrinated with our ideas, and you know, we can hold the space for you and help you be the change for your child. So only action will create that change. And that was your new commitment. That's the new commitment. So it's not just when we support you and help you, it's not just a chat. We look at the what we call the iGrow model, the issue, the goal, your current reality, the reality that you prefer, the options, and your way forward, and you will move forward. And the outcome, well, that you will see yourself. We will help you see you by reflecting back what we're seeing, feeling, and hearing appropriately. We won't go, "You idiot, have you seen this?" No. And sometimes we wake ourselves up like that. Be gentle. We're gentle. We communicate actually the way you want it. If you want hard facts, we will share that, but still appropriately with love. And then you get to see yourself, and then you can change and your children can change. Some people come to us with an issue about what the parent has a problem with. And sometimes they come and share on our discovery calls. That's a great place to get started in connecting with us, having a discovery call about their child. But ultimately, there's a mirror. When we help the child move forward, the parent moves forward. When we help the parent move forward, the young person moves forward as well. So that's closing the gap from contention to connection. Notice what you're noticing. Above all, be aware and gentle with yourselves. And we've got a motto at Changemaker Teens Global of onward with ease. Thank you, peace. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Heidi, I'd love to open the floor for questions. So I know we've got a few people here. If you have a question for Heidi, please either raise your hand or unmute and say hello. I'd love to say hi to Linda, actually. Hi, Linda.
Hi, I was just taking off the mute button there. So hello, Peace. It's so great to meet you. Heidi, you did a great job.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of COVID myself, so I haven't taken a shower in 5 days, and I didn't want to show everybody.
Okay. That's okay. Thank you for being here. I hope you're okay.
Yeah, it's very exciting
going on for you, Linda, but yeah, we will share some of that in our podcast.
All right, that sounds great.
Yeah. But, yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
no, I'm all set.
You're all good. Listen to that beautiful American accent, hey? Hey, I think I shared the other day at the book launch. I think I did. When I had a client years ago who did framing, business coaching client of mine, and he gave me this. He loved New York, and he framed for me this beautiful picture of Central Park, and it's been in my office ever since. So, oh my goodness, I was doing some corporate stand-in work for a while, as well as coaching. So I think that would have been, I don't know, 8 years ago, long time ago, and it's been in my office ever since. And here I am earlier this year. Changemaker mums met Changemaker Teens, and the two became one and connected. So little did I know, as well as my vision board here, I had this one there. So blessed to have met Linda.
It's amazing, isn't it? I love when synchronicity like that happens. You're talking about your son, and then his name showed up on the screen of your phone. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love seeing Lauren's smile there in her picture. It's been very encouraging looking at your smile, Lauren. So you're probably busy doing what you're doing, but I feel blessed that you supported this workshop. Thank you.
And Nadia's here. Hello. Do you want to jump in and say hi?
Hi, hello, Peace. Hi, Heidi. And
hello, Nadia. It's Nadia. Yes.
Nadia, yeah.
Nadia.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Did you have any questions or comments for Heidi?
No, I don't. But I do some support work for Changemaker Teens Global. That's part of my role, and I'm going through the coaching process myself as well, and learning about myself. So much is resonating there with me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I trust I made sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was an excellent presentation. Really interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's a real privilege being amongst, so there's 35 authors, yeah?
There's 33.
33, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, yes.
I must have counted twice.
So, Heidi, I'm curious about homeschooling. It's a decision that many people are kind of afraid of making. Was there fear around that when you made the decision?
There was probably more, if you wanted to label it as fear, but there was probably more concern or contention or fear in leaving them in school. My child wasn't writing, and I understood that he could write. So I thought that he was, getting lost in the system. How come no one saw him? He can write. Why is he dictating things? And well, I soon found, so we actually only did it temporarily. So rather than saying, because you can always go back, you make the decision, you can always enroll again in school. So, it was a good cut. It wasn't, you don't recognize my son, I'm going to do it better and rip him out. It was, it was peaceful. But what happened was in the first week, I brought him, because he is on the spectrum, I brought him home a week earlier than the other one, than the 8-year-old. So he was 11 when I brought him out. And the first week I said, it's time to write a story, love, let's just write something. And he started drawing. I said, it's story writing time, and I know you can write. What are you doing? And he said, Mom, I can't write unless I've met the characters.
So beautiful.
So once he had drawn, then he could write. 40 minutes. This was the beginning of grade 6. You get 40 minutes to write something, because they're practicing for grade 7 NAPLAN a year later.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Nuts.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It would be like you saying to me, okay, now you've got to write.
Yeah.
The creative process doesn't work like that. It's not like, okay, well, now's the allocated time for writing, now you write. It's, okay, now I'm feeling inspired and I'm in flow and the environment's right for me to be able to create really good work. Yes. Then I'll write.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I could not have written my chapter in this without you, Peace. At 6 a.m. we met for a few weeks in the morning, and we meditated beforehand, and we were in flow. And, I had, just like I have now, the little candle there, and we were all together, but quiet and writing together and inspired. Thank you.
Created space for that, and not everybody was able to come at those times. That, like, if I had said, everyone, you've got to turn up at 6 a.m, different people were doing different things. So that expectation that everybody has to fit into the same box, which is what traditional education is about in a lot of ways.
They try to make it seem like you can do your own thing, but then you can do that for a little while and not continue it. So, the tries there. Nicole's nodding her head. She obviously relates.
It's something that I get really worked up about. So my background's in early childhood education, so I'm an early childhood consultant. So early childhood education is all about play and about children actually having time to explore and to be curious and all of those wonderful, amazing things. And then it's like they get to school and it's just shut off. And I really struggle with the school system and a lack of alternative options for families. Here in Newcastle, where we are, there are very few options for families in terms of schooling that actually provide anything different. And as you say, they try. I think there are some teachers who do a brilliant job. The school that my children are at does as good a job as I can expect of a school system, but it's nowhere near what you would love it to be, and I think, and what it's capable of being, and what children deserve it to be. And it's one of those topics that gets me very riled up.
Well, we may have a solution for Newcastle. So although our focus is tweens and teens, together with you, Nicole, and what your wonderful work is, we may be able to come up with one for the youngers. Well, we do support the younger ones with a similar model with what we call our learning dojos.
Yeah.
Dojo being a place where you find your way, you find your passion. So they're facilitated in a self-directed learning pathway. So hopefully with people like you sort of almost demanding change and being passionate about change as well, you know.
And there are so many people that are demanding it. There are so many people that want that for their children and just don't quite know how to go about it. We've actually been, like, our business has been contacted multiple times by families in the community because we run nature play programs, and we also run out of school hours care and family daycare. And we have people contact us and say, when will you start a school? And it's like, it's just not quite that simple. It'd be great, but it's not quite that simple.
But you can start learning dojos. We need to talk. We need to connect. I love this. From contention, you know, the community there has, let's connect and help them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's incredible. This book, literally changing the world in real time. Incredible. Yeah. It's just so beautiful, and I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Heidi. It has been wonderful hearing your presentation and learning from you. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's been here for Heidi's session.
Yeah, been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.